ਵੈਲਕਮ ਟੂ ਦਿਸ ਐਪੀਸੋਡ ਆਫ ਦ ਹਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਸ਼ੋ। ਤੁਹਾਡਾ ਮੇਰੇ ਸਾਥ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਹੈ ਮੰਡੇ ਟੂ ਫਰਾਈਡੇ ਸਵੇਰੇ 7 ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 8 ਵਜੇ ਤੱਕ, ਮੰਡੇ ਟੂ ਥਰਸਡੇ ਰਾਤ ਨੂੰ 10 ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 11 ਵਜੇ ਤੱਕ, ਅਤੇ ਸੈਟਰਡੇ ਨੂੰ 2 ਵਾਰੀ ਤੁਹਾਡੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਾਂਝ ਪਾਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਦੁਪਹਿਰ 2 ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 3 ਵਜੇ ਤੱਕ ਅਤੇ ਰਾਤ 8 ਤੋਂ ਲੈ ਕੇ 9 ਵਜੇ ਤੱਕ। ਇਹ ਇਕੱਲਾ ਪ੍ਰੋਗਰਾਮ ਹੈ ਉੱਤਰੀ ਅਮਰੀਕਾ ਦਾ, ਜਿਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਸੀਂ ਪੋਲੀਟਿਕਸ, ਇਕਨੋਮਿਕਸ, ਸਪੋਰਟਸ, ਲਾਈਫਸਟਾਈਲ, ਹੈਲਥ ਇਸ਼ੂਜ਼ ਤੋਂ ਇਲਾਵਾ ਹਰ ਰੋਜ਼ ਸਪਿਰਿਚੁਅਲਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਵੀ ਡਿਸਕਸ਼ਨ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਕਿਉਂਕਿ ਸਾਡਾ ਇਹ ਮੰਨਣਾ ਹੈ ਕਿ ਤੁਹਾਨੂੰ ਐਜੂਕੇਟ ਕਰਨਾ, ਇਨਫੋਰਮ ਕਰਨਾ ਅਤੇ ਇੰਪਾਵਰ ਕਰਨਾ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਬਹੁਤ ਜ਼ਰੂਰੀ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਨਾਲ ਕਿ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀਜ਼ ਦੀ ਤਕਦੀਰ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਬਦਲ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ। ਅਸੀਂ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਹਫ਼ਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕਰਾਈ ਸੀ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਵੀ ਸੈਟੀ ਪੈਂਡੋਕਰ ਨਾਲ, ਜਿਹੜੇ ਕਿ 1955 ਵਿੱਚ ਕੈਨੇਡਾ ਵਿੱਚ ਆਏ ਸੀ, ਜੋ ਉਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਦੋਜਹਿਦ ਕੀਤੀ, ਇੱਕ ਆਪਣਾ ਸਥਾਨ ਬਣਾਇਆ ਅਤੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਅਵੇਅਰਨੈਸ ਕ੍ਰੀਏਟ ਕਰਕੇ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਐਗਜ਼ਿਸਟੈਂਸ ਸੀ ਉਸ ਨੂੰ ਹੋਰ ਮਜ਼ਬੂਤ ਕੀਤਾ, ਮੇਨ ਸਟ੍ਰੀਮ ਵਿੱਚ ਵੀ। ਇਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਆਓ ਹੋਰ ਦੁਬਾਰਾ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਅਤੇ ਤੁਹਾਡੀ ਮੁਲਾਕਾਤ ਕਰਵਾ ਰਹੇ ਹਾਂ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਵੀ ਸੈਟੀ ਪੈਂਡੋਕਰ ਨਾਲ। Once again, welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. So last time we had discussed that you were outgoing, you started going out, you started talking about the community, your presence, your advantage in English, your position in the University of British Columbia. Those were added advantages for you, and you were a profile for the community as such. But also at that time what we find was that the people were less, but there was more integration amongst the people. Though our population has increased a lot now, but that kind of integration which was seen earlier between the different religious people, the different communities, are you finding that in our community today?
We talk amongst ourselves in groups extensively.
Right.
But the group to group talk is very little.
Right.
And we focus on our heritage a lot. We don't focus on the overall community a lot.
Right.
But I don't want to minimize. I mean, for example, in Surrey, we have persons of Indian origin on the city council.
Right.
Well, if you just go back 10 years, we didn't have that.
That's right.
And we have chairperson of the library board. She is also Indian origin.
Right.
So we have all these successes, but what is happening is between ourselves. So if you compare yourself to a big Jodmela, where you have a lot of tents,
Right.
everybody goes and talks to the tent. The tents don't talk to each other.
Very right.
So we need more of that.
Right.
So I also was very interested in politics. As a result, in 1966, several of us from UBC and several business people, we started a party called Team, and it became successful in 68. And 72, we became the government.
Okay.
And I was elected. And those years...
In UBC?
No, in the Vancouver City Council.
Okay.
When I got on Vancouver City Council, that experience was invaluable.
Right.
Because it was an opportunity to make things happen, all the things that I had been talking about. Instead of talking, doing. Let me give you some of the things we did in 72 to 76. The waterfront walkway in Vancouver.
Right.
The plan was developed under my direction. We called it 99 by 99. We wanted to have 99 kilometers of walkways by year 1999.
Okay.
But the city now has more than 124 kilometers of walkways.
Right.
So all of these is going outside of our little tent.
Right.
But when you go outside the little tent, your tent has to support you, but the other tents also have to support you.
Right.
In order for the other tents to support you, we have to be able to discuss the problems they face
Right.
from their point of view, not from our point of view. And that is coming slowly, because we now have many members of the legislature,
Right.
many members of the House of Commons, some senators. We're getting there. But as we have gotten ahead, we have also accumulated a strange set of problems. Whether it is drugs, or whether it is accidents, or whether it is reckless driving and all of that.
Right.
And in the process, I'm not a social scientist in that sense, but my guess is to some degree there is too much emphasis on money.
Right. So the perspective of the community has changed.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if your son or daughter who is 25 years old doesn't have any job to speak about and is driving a Jaguar,
Right.
you have to be able to ask questions. Where
Where
the
is
money
this
coming?
money coming from?
Instead of telling everybody in India that my son is driving a Jaguar. So
Right.
we have to change some of those values. Our students are excelling,
Right.
but we have to excel more.
Right.
Excellence is not one step and stop there. The bar we set,
It's
we
always-
move it up and up and up.
Absolutely.
And we're getting there.
Wonderful.
And the best part of who we are now, not necessarily us, you can forget about you and me, our generation, our children,
Absolutely.
our grandchildren. They're breaking all the barriers.
Right.
Their friends are not just Indian community.
Right.
Their friends are not one language.
From all the communities.
Yeah. My granddaughter, who is 11 years old and is in grade 6, in her class, 19 languages are spoken. And her friends,
Right.
all different kinds, origins. And they talk about each other's country.
Absolutely. So, Dr. Pendakar, are you also concerned about one of the issues which I raised earlier about those tags of Indo-Canadians and Pakistani Canadians and Caribbean Canadians and any country we come from, that we are continuing with that, but we are not claiming or we are not showing ourselves as Canadians. Are you concerned about that? Those ghettoization which is coming up, with various groups living amongst themselves?
Very much so. I think when you immigrate here in your mid-career, when you're more than 45 years old or so, adjustments are more difficult. When you immigrate, when you're only 10 or 12 or 15, adjustments are very, very, a lot easier. So when we're getting a large number of people in the age group of 40 to 60, we haven't found ways of adjusting to beyond the Indian community in which we live.
Right.
And we try to live in those communities because of easier access to language, easier access to friends, easier access to socialization and all that.
Right.
I am concerned with larger inputs by our people into the larger community. And I keep, wherever I go, I keep saying in schools and universities and social organizations, go and volunteer at your community center. Go and volunteer at the hospital.
Right.
Go and volunteer at the library. Just 4 hours a week.
Right.
It goes on your record as a volunteer, and you learn a lot, and you also meet all other people.
Absolutely. We'll continue with the discussion. Let's go for a small break, and when we come back, what motivates you to do what you have done? And also, apart from that, you have been on a number of boards and organizations, and especially as far as the youth is concerned, as you mentioned, that they are intermingling more with other communities. But on the other hand, there is another thing what we are seeing today, that we are also losing our cultural values, ethics and morality. So how we can be strong in those things also, and also be a part of this wider culture, we'll talk about this. ਡਾਕਟਰ ਪਿੰਡੋਕਰ ਨਾਲ ਜੋ ਹੁਣ ਤੱਕ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਹੋਈ ਜੀ, ਇਸ ਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਅੱਜ ਜੋ ਸਮੱਸਿਆਵਾਂ ਆ ਰਹੀਆਂ ਨੇ ਉਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਮੁੱਖ ਤੌਰ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਪਹਿਲਾਂ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਸੀ ਉਸ ਨਾਲੋਂ ਬਦਲਾਅ ਆ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ। ਅੱਜ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀ ਜਿਹੜੀ ਹੈ ਉਹ ਇੰਟਰਮਿੰਗਲ ਕਰ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ ਬਾਕੀ ਕਲਚਰਸ ਨਾਲ ਵੀ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਪਿਛਲੇ ਸਮੇਂ ਦੀ ਗੱਲ ਕੀਤੀ, ਉਸ ਸਮੇਂ ਕੁਝ ਹੋਰ ਸਮੱਸਿਆਵਾਂ ਸੀ, ਲੋਕ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਸਨ ਉਹ ਬਾਹਰ ਨਹੀਂ ਨਿਕਲਦੇ ਸੀ, ਪਰ ਅੱਜ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਦਾ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇੱਕ ਮੁੱਖ ਮੁੱਦਾ ਹੈ, ਇੱਕ ਕਮਿਊਨਿਟੀ ਪਰਸਪੈਕਟਿਵ ਤੋਂ ਚੇਂਜ ਹੋ ਕੇ ਇੰਡੀਵਿਜੂਅਲਿਸਟਿਕ ਬੇਸਿਸ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ 'ਤੇ ਫੋਕਸ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਪੈਸੇ ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਉਹ ਜ਼ਿਆਦਾ ਹੁੰਦਾ ਜਾ ਰਿਹਾ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਤੋਂ ਕਿ ਇਹ ਚਿੰਤਿਤ ਨੇ। ਨਾਲ ਹੀ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਟੈਗਸ ਅਸੀਂ ਲਾਉਂਦੇ ਹਾਂ ਇੰਡੋ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨਸ ਅਤੇ ਹੋਰ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਅਸੀਂ ਆਪਣੇ ਜਿਸ ਦੇਸ਼ ਤੋਂ ਆਏ ਉਹਦੇ ਬਾਰੇ ਵੀ ਇਹ ਸਮਝ ਰਹੇ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਜਿਹੜਾ ਇਹ ਗੈਟੋਆਈਜੇਸ਼ਨ ਹੈ ਇਹ ਵੀ ਇੱਕ ਸਹੀ ਟ੍ਰੈਂਡ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਪਰ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੂੰ ਆਸ ਹੈ, ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕਿਹਾ ਕਿ ਸਾਡੀ ਨੌਜਵਾਨ ਪੀੜ੍ਹੀ ਜੋ ਹੈ ਇਸ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਬਾਹਰ ਨਿਕਲ ਰਹੀ ਹੈ। ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਚੱਲਦੀ ਰਹੇਗੀ, ਵੇਖਦੇ ਰਹੋ ਦ ਹਰਪ੍ਰੀਤ ਸਿੰਘ ਸ਼ੋ। Once again, welcome back to the program. ਡਾਕਟਰ ਪਿੰਡੋਕਰ ਨਾਲ ਆਓ ਹੋਰ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕਰੀਏ ਤੇ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦੇ ਜੀਵਨ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਕੀ ਪ੍ਰੇਰਨਾ ਲਈ ਜਾ ਸਕਦੀ ਹੈ ਉਸ ਬਾਰੇ ਕੁਝ ਗੱਲਾਂ ਬਾਤਾਂ ਕਰੀਏ। So what motivates you to do what you do? Basically, when you talk about the community, and as you were talking about the perspective of the community is changing, the focus is becoming more individualized and money is becoming a major focus. What was it which prompted you as an individual and also as a community activist to bring forward the issues of the community. While today lots of lip service is being given, even by politicians also, they get elected on the basis that we will represent your issues over there, but many a times they forget the community issues also and they are not ready to speak. So that kind of forthrightness is not to be seen today. What would you say, what motivates you?
My primary motivation for public service is fairly simple. This country has been good to me.
Right.
I have done extraordinarily well. I'm still in good health, both mentally and physically. So it's time to give back. I have done that all my life. It's nothing to boast about, but it's good to feel good for giving. And I have always enjoyed contributing in community organizations.
Right.
And I have always selected purposely organizations which are not limited to one ethnic group.
Right.
So I have served on the Vancouver Public Library Board, I have served on the Association of Neighborhood Houses Board, been on City Council, served on the Town Planning Commission.
Right.
It probably comes from my attitude, and my father was very good at that, but he was not much of a talker about these things, but he was more of a doer.
Right.
And my mother was very good about these things also in the small village where we were born.
Right.
And I think it's in my nature of doing things, and combined with the fact that I'm also interested in the larger issues.
Right.
Let me give you a couple of examples of how maybe we can get to the next step. We elect these politicians, good or bad, but we don't see them again until 3 years or 3.5 years when the next election.
Right.
So whether it is the temple or any other organization, we should demand that they come and report to us every year. And we should also stop, I think, the practice of jumping from party to party and supporting anybody and everybody,
Right.
because it indicates we have no principles. One elections were Socrates, another elections were liberals, another elections were Tories.
Right.
And this kind of busload politics
Right.
is not only detrimental to our own growth, but it's somewhat
For
dangerous.
the country also, no doubt.
So we are very good at many things,
Right.
and I think I want to emphasize that. But we have a long way from being perfect.
Right.
And it is a good idea to aim towards being perfect. And as I said earlier, our children and our grandchildren are cross-cultural,
Right.
and they are also intermarrying a lot. So if your daughter marries somebody from France and your grandchildren speak French and English at their home,
Right.
what do you call the grandchildren? French, English, or Indo-Canadian?
Right.
So all of those changes are happening simultaneously, and I feel good about the future. As our children and grandchildren start to participate in the politics, the nature of politics will change.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Dr. Pendakur, you have lots of achievements to your credit. If we have to talk about one particular thing which you are proud of, which you have contributed back, what would that be?
I think I'll mention two very quickly. One is my time on City Council,
Right.
because instead of just talking, it
You
was
did
an
it.
opportunity to demonstrate I can do.
Right.
The second one is the United Way. United Way, it was possible for me in a matter of 5 years to convince my fellow directors we have to change directions. The causes we select to support ought to be first and foremost assisting the poor.
Right.
Second, more important or equally important, bringing all groups together.
Right.
So I think my 2 terms of 5 years each on the United Way took the United Way quite a long ways towards that goal. We're
Okay.
still not there,
Right.
but we're walking towards that goal.
Wonderful.
And those 2 things I'm very happy about.
Any regrets?
Sorry?
Any regrets?
Absolutely none.
That's great. Did you ever also think of jumping into provincial or federal politics?
I was a candidate in 1972 October, didn't win.
Okay.
But I have no desire to be a candidate. it's for the younger generation to do.
Right.
And
when
I'm happy to contribute otherwise.
Right. So it's not just that you have to be in the political field to contribute. You can contribute in any way you want.
Well, I'm a senior advisor to the government of China.
Right.
Senior advisor to the government of Singapore. I'm doing some advising work to the government of India.
Right.
So all of that brings me satisfaction.
As far as the youngsters are concerned, what would be your message to them? Because everybody wants to reach at that level where you reach, but we are looking for shortcuts. We are not wanting that much time frame because everything is happening fast. The fast food culture, the fast life, and everything is becoming fast. So what would be your message to the children especially?
McDonald's doesn't exist for success. So what I suggest is, first be yourself.
Right.
Second, prepare heavily for whatever you're doing. Learn to get as much knowledge as you can.
Right.
Nothing beats when you're competent. If you interview 10 people, you're the best there. And if they want to reject you because of your turban or your tie or your mustache, they have to really think hard because the company may be losing a bright guy or a bright woman.
Right.
So energy to put it into the right direction, prepare well and volunteer.
Wonderful. And towards the end, like what you have done in the past is commendable. You have contributed to the society. Any further plans also, what you are planning in future?
Well, I'm on several boards now.
Right.
I'm on a foundation in Pittsburgh that gives away a lot of money to developing countries. I'm on a board called Theatre Conspiracy, which produces plays based on social issues. And there are lots of activities that I'm doing.
So we're going to keep busy with all what you have been doing.
Yeah.
Sir, it was a pleasure having you. Thank you very much for your time and best wishes.
Thank you.
Thank you. ਸੋ ਅੱਜ ਅਸੀਂ ਡਾਕਟਰ ਪਿੰਡਾਕਰ ਨਾਲ ਗੱਲਬਾਤ ਕੀਤੀ। ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਆਪਣੇ ਜੀਵਨ ਵਿੱਚੋਂ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਉਹ ਲਮਹਿਆਂ ਨਾਲ ਜੋੜਿਆ ਜਿਹਦੇ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੰਟਰੀਬਿਊਟ ਕੀਤਾ ਤੇ ਜਿਸ ਤਰ੍ਹਾਂ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਦੱਸਿਆ ਕਿ ਯੂਨਾਈਟਿਡ ਵੇ ਅਤੇ ਨਾਲ ਸਰੀ ਵੈਂਕੂਵਰ ਸਿਟੀ ਕਾਉਂਸਲ ਵਿੱਚ ਜੋ ਕੁਝ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ 2 ਟਰਮਸ ਵਿੱਚ ਕੰਮ ਕੀਤਾ ਉਸ ਤੋਂ ਇਹ ਬੜੇ ਮੁਤਾਸਰ ਹੋਏ, ਬਹੁਤ ਖੁਸ਼ ਨੇ ਕਿ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਕੁਝ ਕੰਟਰੀਬਿਊਟ ਕੀਤਾ। ਨਾਲ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਦਾ ਮੈਸੇਜ ਹੈ ਖਾਸ ਤੌਰ ਉੱਤੇ ਯੰਗਸਟਰਸ ਨੂੰ ਕਿ ਸ਼ਾਰਟਕਟਸ ਜਿਹੜੇ ਨੇ ਸਕਸੈਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਕੋਈ ਸ਼ਾਰਟਕਟ ਨਹੀਂ ਹੈ, ਉਸ ਵਾਸਤੇ ਮਿਹਨਤ ਕਰਨੀ ਪਏਗੀ, ਪ੍ਰਿਪੇਅਰ ਚੰਗੇ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਕਰੋ। ਤੇ ਉਸ ਦੇ ਨਾਲ ਨਾਲ ਇਹਨਾਂ ਨੇ ਜੋ ਕਿਹਾ ਅਖੀਰ ਵਿੱਚ ਕਿ ਸਾਨੂੰ ਸਾਰਿਆਂ ਨੂੰ ਐਜ਼ ਕੈਨੇਡੀਅਨ ਸੋਚ ਕੇ ਇਸ ਦੇਸ਼ ਨੂੰ ਕਿਵੇਂ ਅਸੀਂ ਬਿਹਤਰੀ ਲਿਆ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਜਿਸ ਤਰੀਕੇ ਨਾਲ ਅਸੀਂ ਕੁਝ ਕੰਟਰੀਬਿਊਟ ਕਰ ਸਕਦੇ ਹਾਂ, ਉਹ ਚੀਜ਼ ਨੂੰ ਅਸੀਂ ਨਾ ਭੁੱਲੀਏ।